Hey, Teddy K here for the Best Buy blog, and in this video we're going to take a look at the OnePlus 12, a flagship Android smartphone from OnePlus, available at Best Buy now, and it comes with a number of features, a good camera, and plenty more. Some of you watching this video may have never heard of OnePlus, and others may be OnePlus fans who have known the brand for many years. I find it is a mix. Anytime I talk to anybody out there or show people the latest OnePlus phone, oftentimes it's either like, who is that? Or like, oh, is that the newest one? So I feel like there's going to be a bit of a mix here. And that's why I'm going to try and address this device looking at both perspectives. If you've never heard of OnePlus, for example, you should know that this is a full-on Android device. So it runs on Android. It has its own OxygenOS. That's what it's called. The overlay is called OxygenOS, kind of like Samsung's One UI. And in my opinion, it's actually one of the best overlays you'll find in an Android device, personally. Because it's clean and it feels closer to what stock Android looks like. But that also means that there are specific features, for example, or presentations, the way things are presented that is unique to the device compared to other Android phones. I'll give you a couple examples. So when you go into this phone, and in the settings in particular, there are special features. So you'll see in there things like smart sidebar, or flexible window, things like that. I know that OnePlus doesn't necessarily make them easy to find, but they are there and they are very usable and worth, I think, experimenting with a little bit just to see what you can do. So flexible window, of course, is you can have an app overlaying on top of anything else that you're using and then get rid of it or expand it however you please. Smart sidebar is cool in that you can populate it with whatever apps you want. Now again, this is not really new. I mean, this has been done before. This sort of thing's been done before, but I do find it unique and interesting here because it works with some of those other features. So you can, for instance, open something from Smart Sidebar so that it's like a flexible window. See? So the features tie into each other in ways that I think are cool. Another one that I really like is called Shelf. This is another one that OnePlus has put out there. You'll find it if you go into settings and you go to home screen and lock screen. If you swipe down just a little bit, you'll see that there's an option for swipe down on home screen. Shelf should be the one by default. What this means is that when you swipe down from the home screen, and we're not talking about the top where the notifications are, we're just talking anywhere on the home screen. If you just swipe down, you then see a series of cards. These are contextual and they will give you information based on whatever it is you're looking for. So whether it's time, weather, things like that, exercise, so activity tracking, that sort of thing. And then of course, Spotify, if you are a Spotify subscriber, it's really cool because you can tap into not just the music that you have, but also discover new music as well. And then there is Notes. Notes is cool because you can use it like any other note-taking app, but if you create a new note, you can then add it to as a card on top of on the screen as well, and it becomes a widget, if you will, so that you can just look at it when you need to. If you have a list or a reminder, something that you've set up on there that you can quickly access by just swiping down on the home screen as opposed to opening a separate app. Very easy to do. Not every app works with Shelf, so it's still a work in progress. You'll notice that when you tap the plus symbol on the top left, and you'll see the apps that are compatible with it. The list is short, hopefully it'll grow, but it is a feature that I think has real potential. OxygenOS is filled with these little nuances, kind of the way things are set up. So even the way Smart Sidebar will give you access to the screen recorder or taking a screenshot, things like that, or even the audio recorder, for instance. These are, some of those unique things that I think make this phone feel different from some of the other Android devices that are out there. And also the kind of customization that OnePlus really built its reputation on, at least for those who have stuck with it for all this time. Again, I feel like if you take time to learn what's on this phone, you'll find that it caters more to you than you might realize. One could argue that the camera is like that too. The camera is an interesting situation here because for a few years now, OnePlus has been collaborating with Hasselblad. That is a famed and renowned Swedish brand in photography. So those of you who know photography will definitely know who that is. And the two of them have been collaborating now going back a few years, and the collaboration hasn't always shown, I think, what it could be. This phone takes it a step further. And you'll notice that there are certain features that have Hasselblad written over them. So if you go to the filters section on the camera app, you will see that there are certain filters that's Hasselblad. So Radiant, Serenity, things like that's Hasselblad. But even the way some photos come out, or the composition, so the color reproduction, things, Hasselblad has sprinkled its input throughout the camera array. You can get very good photos with this phone, and I highly recommend that you play around with some of the different modes to see what you're capable of. One case in point would be snapshot. This is not a separate mode that you'll see in the carousel. It's one that you'll see actually at the top. So if you go into the photo app at the top, you'll see snapshot is there. You turn that on. What that does is that it helps you freeze action. So if you're shooting anything, it could be, you know, your child playing a sport, it could be a dog, it could be anything really that has action involved, you can try to freeze it in place by using that option. You can also use it when shooting in bursts. So if you hold down the shutter button, you will then take about 20 shots per second. It does cap. And from there, within snapshot mode, you can also snap or freeze action in place. It's very cool, and that's how you get certain shots like this, where you just capture a moment, a fleeting moment that is, especially when Connor McDavid's skating, that really comes out as a really nice shot. But it goes beyond that. I mean, even like X-Pan mode, for example. So speaking of Hasselblad, X-Pan mode, it emulates the old Hasselblad technique of film developing as you're shooting it. That's why it's in color and black and white. And it's a really neat just a neat feature to play around with, especially if you want to get a little creative with your photography. Or I find that mode works really well for street photography, worth trying out if you want to get creative that way. But there's so much here, even on video, to play around with, that I think it's worth just going around, especially if you've never used a OnePlus phone before. Just start playing around to see what the camera can do under different conditions. The telephoto lens is also impressive on here. I did like shooting with that a lot. I felt that it retained a fair amount of detail, especially if you're sharing photos on social media. Of course, if you pinch to zoom and what we call pixel peeping, you'll notice obviously that it's not as sharp perhaps as other photos might be if you were to shoot them normally or not zoom in at all. But when you're sharing photos online, especially or through social media or just with friends, they look really, really nice. So, and that goes even for low light conditions as well, where this phone is definitely an improvement over the OnePlus 11 that way. Of course, I can't talk about a OnePlus phone without talking about battery life. The battery holds up really, really well. I mean, I went a full day using this phone. I didn't have to worry about anything. So that wasn't a concern. I wasn't really worried about how long it would last per charge. What I wondered about was how fast it would be to recharge it. Unlike most phones these days, OnePlus does include a wall charger in the box, and there's a reason for that, because the wall charger and the cable, when you put them together and you charge the device, it'll charge it ridiculously fast. We're talking from 0 to 100% in my testing, it was 32 minutes. It's just, that's just crazy. And even if you were to go from 15% to 100%, it's not even, I mean, it's like 20 something minutes. It's nothing. So it's crazy fast, which means that if you run out of juice and you have your charger with you, you're going to be up and running really, really quickly. But even for wireless charging, which is back on this phone, the OnePlus 11 didn't have it, but the company came to its senses, brought it back here in the OnePlus 12, and even that can be fast too. The caveat though is that if you're going to charge even faster, or faster normally, than you normally would with wireless charging, you're going to need OnePlus's AirVook wireless charging stand, which will get this thing from 0 to 100% wirelessly in probably about an hour. Super fast. It will work with any Qi charger though. So if you have any regular wireless Qi charger, a Qi wireless charger, you just plop it down, put it on the stand, whatever, it will wirelessly charge that way too. Won't be as fast, but it will be convenient. So I'm just going to summarize here by pointing out that this is a solid device. OnePlus did a very nice job here. It is a solid performer. There were some kinks, software kinks that I definitely noticed. I got my phone before it launched, and there definitely were a couple things that popped up, but those seem to have been resolved. And so what I have now is a very smooth device that really delivers a sublime performance, which is all you can ask for, especially for a phone that is flagship yet undercuts the competition, particularly on price relative to performance. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor in here, plenty of RAM starting at 12 gigs, 256 gigs to start for storage. There's a gaming mode on here. Gaming is excellent on this device. The cooling system that OnePlus put in here seems to be working well. I didn't notice this phone get as warm as previous models have. So things seem to be working fairly well here in combination. And that's really all you can ask for when you're putting down a lot of money in a flagship phone. And that's my review of the OnePlus 12, available at Best Buy now. You can actually read more about it by just clicking that link below. For the Best Buy blog, I'm Teddy K. Thanks for watching.